you could take a crazy sum of cash from me if you could go back to my wedding. I've been married now over 15 years. There are people in my family, numerous people who aren't here anymore that were alive then. I mean, the money you could extort from me if you told me, Eddie, I have, and you're making me think too. I think it was John Lennon. And he was like, life is what happens when we're busy making other plans. It's those little down moments. Of course, like the vows being exchanged. Of course, like the first dance. Of course, that stuff, right? But some of that other little stuff that I know is lost now from my wedding to the annals of people's memory, like conversations that my buddies might have had, like, I mean, it's magic. Hey, everybody, this is Eddie Babbage, founder, CEO of Timeline Genius, your host here of the Wedding Industry Insider Podcast, back with another awesome interview for you. I am here with Reagan Teel. Reagan is the founder and creative director of Unveiled Content Co, a wedding content creation company based in Texas. Reagan, thank you so much for taking time to be here with me to do this interview. I'm really excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie. I'm so excited.
Just to kind of let people know where we're going with this interview, you have started a company, and I've already learned just from talking to you and seeing the success that you've enjoyed so far. So we're going to unpack, of course, some of the lessons that you've learned in building your company. And we're also going to get into something that I haven't on any previous episode, which is the role of a content creator, how planners can make use of vendors and companies such as the one you run, and also how they can shine in the eyes of these people. But before we get to all of that, would you mind just giving me an update on your background in your own words? Like, how did you get to be where you currently are in the industry?
Yeah, thank you. So, like you said, I'm Reagan. I'm founder and CEO of Unveiled Content Co. We specialize in wedding day content creation. So we capture behind the scenes iPhone photo and video. So we shoot purely on our iPhone for couples and for vendors so that they can relive the day almost immediately, whether that's on social media or just with their friends and family. So I got started in wedding content creation because I was planning my own wedding. I feel like honestly that's how a lot of people kind of enter into the industry, is they kind of dabble a little bit into like the wedding industry, whether it's your own or like a family member. I being in Houston, I used to work in oil and gas. And so when I was planning my wedding, I've always kind of been a super creative person. But throughout planning my wedding, I had heard about wedding content creation. I had hired a photographer, hired a videographer, but really wanted something that I could almost relive the day immediately. I got married back in April of 2024, so it was a super new concept in the industry, but and my family was pretty skeptical about like hiring one at the time. Like no one really knew what it was. And so we went ahead and just hired one. And it was, in my parents' words, one of the best investments that we made at our wedding, just being able to have the content like the day after. And so just as a bride, understanding the feeling of being able to have the content immediately, I started doing that on the side, just on the weekends, and I just fell in love with it immediately. And after 10 months of owning my business, I went full time, and now we have team members all over Texas where we serve brides, and mainly in Houston, Austin, and Dallas, but also we'll travel all around the world or the States. So yeah, it's been a super growing, not just business, but just idea in the industry that I'm super excited to talk through and just see where it ends up going.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed our first chat, where we were just kind of getting acquainted. And I'm just going to be transparent here and confess to you and the audience, your role was not one that I was familiar with. But as soon as you really started explaining what you do, it made so much sense on so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, can you kind of transport yourself back to when you were on the other side of the table, when you were the engaged couple and you knew that you wanted this service? Can you tell me more about where your desire for this service originated, and yeah, just talk to me more about like why you wanted this component in your wedding.
Yeah, so like I said, we had hired a photographer and videographer, and we loved our photos, videos. They were so amazing. We still go back and look at them probably like once a week. They're awesome. But through planning our wedding, me just being a very like creative person, I did a lot of the decor and just like little things here and there. Me and my mom would create them throughout being engaged. Like we just really found a love for doing the more like DIY things. And so I really wanted to make sure that on our wedding day that all of that was captured, because once your wedding day is over, you can't go back and redo it. And so whether it was the decor or even just like the people, whether it was like family members or guests, we wanted to make sure that we remembered literally every single point of our wedding day. My sister had gotten married a year prior to me, and one of her biggest takeaways was that it just went by so fast. And so I wanted to make sure that our wedding day felt slow and that we would just remember everything. And just like I said, we hired a photographer and videographer, and specifically with video, we had a Super 8, so it was more like a film type videographer. And so they gave us a highlight reel that, like I said, we go back and look at all the time. But regarding content creation, it's so nice going back to our own wedding day and having those like little iPhone clips of like me talking with my grandma when we were getting ready, or um, me with my dad right before I walked down the aisle. Just like those little moments that are like in between all the big moments that a media team normally captures.
And how would you? I wrote this note down when we were talking at first, Reagan, which is you're not in your own mind, you're not competing with the videographer, because I think that's a very natural thing that somebody could think, wait a minute, you're doing video, but I already have a videographer. Are you going to be stepping on their toes? Like, tell me how you kind of navigate that without it being a competition with the videographer.
Yeah. So it was definitely something at the beginning of the idea coming into the industry that um, people had to figure out, like what is the role of a content creator, and what step in the like hierarchy of a media team does the content creator serve. And just through starting my own business and also being a bride with a content creator, um, we definitely see the prioritization in photography, videography, and then content creation. And so I always tell my brides, like, whenever we're there on a wedding day, like, we are purely there to capture behind the scenes. Like, we will capture the big moments of you and your husband's first kiss, or y'all walking down the aisle, or your first dance. Like, we will capture those big moments, but we are also focused on the like in between moments. Um, so yeah, always like to say we are an addition to the media team, but we are in no way a substitute for it. Like I said, we only capture on iPhones, and so our priority is one to capture the behind the scenes so that you can like receive it within 24 hours.
So one of the big payoffs here or benefits of having a content creator is I get that immediate sort of delivery, right? Like
Mhm.
next day, you guys are giving me this thing that I can now post and I can savor, whereas it takes longer to develop this almost longer form media content, right? Um,
Mhm.
but am I able to this? I'm going to ask a lot of questions in this interview that are going to sound naive, partially because I am, and partially because somebody else in the audience
Yeah.
may have had the same question.
Mhm.
Um, can I now save this? Is there a convenient way? And do you find that your clients want to go back and revisit it a month from now or 6 years from now? Like, do you think it's also going to serve that role?
Yeah, so I was actually at a wedding a couple weeks ago where one of my first brides was a guest there. She had
Mm-hmm,
recommended us to that bride, and so I was talking to her, and it was just hitting her and her husband's like 1 year mark from their wedding day.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And she was just telling me like I was just looking through all of our content again, just with it being our anniversary coming up. And it was so nice just to have all those little moments just to like easily pull up on my phone and look back on. Because we will send all the raw content that we take but then we'll also put together edited videos. So we'll put together a full recap and then a couple like short form reels, which we like to say are like things that you'd see on Instagram. So like a 30-second reel of the details or a 30-second video of just the ceremony. So with those short form videos, we also do the like full highlight of the day. So that really gives couples the option just to either like watch those edited videos or go back and look at the like raw content. And so, yeah, she was just going on and on about how she was like, I just kept crying and crying, just going back and looking through all the videos of our wedding day, even a year later. So yeah, I think just the accessibility of it on our phones and our technology is just something that's going to serve couples for a really long time.
Every like just in so many ways, Reagan, everything that you're saying in this chat and our last one
Mm-hmm.
makes so much sense. Like my mind is just like churning. I'm thinking, first of all, you could take a crazy sum of cash from me if you could go back to my wedding. I've been married now over 15 years. There are people in my family, numerous people who aren't here anymore that were alive then. I mean, the money you could extort from me if you told me, Eddie, I have, and you're making me think too. I think it was John Lennon, and he was like, "Life is what happens when we're busy making other plans." It's those little down moments, of course, like the
Mm-hmm.
vows being exchanged, of course, like the first dance, of course, that stuff, right? But some of
Mm-hmm.
that other little stuff that I know is lost now from my wedding to the annals of people's memory, like conversations that my buddies might have had, like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's magic. And do you have that sense when you're capturing these moments? Are you like aware of like the profundity of like what you're capturing? Do you kind of feel that? Does it light you up as you do your job?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I kind of have a story of a wedding about like 6 months ago that kind of rejuvenated that feeling for like what we were doing. And I told my team members this story just to really put a real purpose behind what we're doing because like yes we are shooting behind the scenes but we are also like making sure that every point of the day is captured, and I think the most important part of a wedding day to capture is the people. But a few months ago we had a bride whose mother unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer before the wedding day, and so we knew that kind of going into the wedding day. And we were able to capture just all the little moments like with her mom and just with her mom and her family and just with everyone. And then about 4 or 5 months later, her mother unfortunately passed away. And so she reached out and she went and posted on Instagram a lot of the content that she was able to have with her mom on her wedding day.
Wow.
And it really hit home for me because I was like, wow, we have such a unique and cool opportunity to capture people's lives because when you're there on your wedding day, you're just reflecting on all the ways that you have been brought to your wedding day, whether it's with your family or your friends or your guests. And it's something that you want to hold on to like forever. And so that was like a really eye-opening moment that showed we really do have a really big impact with what we are capturing. And while the decor and all that is really nice and really fun to capture, it really is the people and just those little moments that we want to make sure we're giving to our couples.
Yeah, that's a really powerful anecdote, Reagan. And it is, you're so right. I feel like your head's exactly in the right place. And I will say, and I remember my wedding day and it was amazing and you're in the moment. And of course, you're aware that this is a lifetime experience, but there's no way to possibly get it in that moment unless you're just a very, very different and way more precocious and forward thinking human being than I am.
Mm-hmm.
But for anybody out there that's listening to us right now that's maybe been in the industry a while and is married and got married 15, 20, 10 years ago, whatever, you really, because so much changes, and this is your way to kind of like bottle it up. And
Mm-hmm.
part of what I'm thinking too that's so magical about your business is, again, I'm showing my age, but I remember when we didn't have smartphones, right? Like And when even after we did have smartphones, it wasn't easy to just get video onto a social media platform and share it. There was no Instagram, there was certainly no TikTok, all these things. Like, how do you feel like this trend toward video is affecting and fostering the sort of boom in your business that you've been experiencing?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, with being a recent bride, it's definitely something that a lot of people are wanting to share their wedding day. They spend a year or so planning their wedding and just putting together this perfect day, and that they want to make sure that it's shared on social media. I mean, that's kind of the essence of our generation, is we want to share everything on social media. And so why would our wedding day be an exception? If anything, that's like the one thing we don't
Absolutely.
want to. I remember I was still sharing my wedding day photos like a year later. I was like, I got married in April. I was like, I have until the end of 2024 to share like all of my wedding day photos. And
Yeah.
I made sure to milk out every single post that I could make, just because I know that when I'm older, when I have kids, I'm going to go back in my social media almost as like a time capsule and be like,
Yeah.
here's some posts of like our wedding day, or just of me and my husband doing other things that weren't on our wedding day. Like, I don't know, that our social media really is, yes, currently like to show our audience what we're doing in our life, but I really see it even more so as like later down the line we can look back and reminisce on different times um, of our life. So yeah, I will say the boom of social media is definitely, I think, is definitely what has triggered the birth of content creation, because like you said, it wasn't as prevalent before, but now everyone, even if they don't want to post it on social media, just to like, they see that it's available and accessible to have that much content of their wedding day for them to remember.
Yeah, there are a few things that human beings have constantly tried to innovate around. For example, transportation, right? It could be riding a horse, a bicycle, a car, a jet, whatever. We're always trying to get from A to B faster. Another thing that humans have always been trying to do is record reality, right? Like to take that snapshot. And it could, years ago, it was like a black and white busted low resolution photo. And now, like, we've come to this point where all of us have these devices that allow us to document like reality in video, and we can save it, and we have platforms where we can share it. Where do you see How do you see your role evolving as technology continues to kind of change and evolve itself?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really makes you think about just like where the future's going and what technology is evolving. But I think the thing with wedding days, and you can probably attest to this working in the wedding industry, but like there's always going to be weddings. And
Yep.
I think that's the beauty of all vendors and everyone that works in the industry, is that weddings are always going to be happening, and whether they're on a different scale or whether just like trends change, people are always going to want their wedding day captured and remembered. um, I will say like the growth of content creation is really headed by the growth of iPhones. I will say like there's just been
Hmm.
changes in the past 2 years with iPhones,
Yes.
whether um, the sound quality or
Yes.
the actual quality. So I will say, like, I just see the quality of content creation becoming even better. I mean, nowadays iPhones are used to capture some movies, so
I know.
it's
It's
really
crazy.
just in the eyes of who's ever holding the iPhone, of how they're going
Yes.
to capture it and what they're going to capture. Because I will say, like, with an iPhone being so accessible, there is a lot of people that are starting content creation businesses, which is awesome.
Yep.
But I would
Sure.
say
Yep.
biggest thing that I would advise people to look for in a content creator is, do they have that eye to find those like little moments between all the big moments, because that's essentially what you're wanting captured. And it really does take a level of awareness when you're on a wedding day to see, okay, yes, the bride is putting her wedding dress on, but if you turn around you can see that her grandma is videoing her or crying. So it really is a sense of awareness to make sure that you're capturing everything that the bride would want going on around you.
I love that, Reagan. And that's exactly where I want to go now, which is, I explained a lot. Most of the people listening to us right now are wedding planners. We do have some other wedding pros, venue owners, photographers, DJs, etc. But for my wedding pros out there, especially my planners, um, how do you think they should be leveraging content creators? Is this something, if you were a wedding planner, like take your content creator hat off and you're like, okay, my job is to plan the best
Mhm.
experience, to deliver the best experience to my client, how would you be thinking about content creators?
Yeah, so I will say our biggest client other than brides are wedding planners because on a wedding day, it's not in your job description to capture things on your iPhone. Your job is to make sure the vendors are there, that they're doing their job correctly, that you're just making sure everything is going smoothly on the day of. That you don't want to have to worry about taking a quick iPhone video of the decor table right before you show the big reveal to the couple. And this is true not just for wedding planners, but also for florists, for DJs, for bands, for rental companies, really just anyone who's not in the business of content. You're focusing on what you're actually doing on the wedding day. And so I will say specifically for planners, I've seen it as such a benefit when they push content creators. Either if the bride isn't hiring a videographer, or if they're just pushing or recommending their couple to hire a content creator, it's
Mm-hmm.
not just of use to the bride and groom, but also to the planner because we'll always send our content to the planner,
Ooh.
always send our content to the florist or just any vendors that request it. And they're free to use the content as freely as they
Wow.
want on social media. So yeah, I really do think that it is important for vendors to utilize content creators in the content that's captured on a wedding day because as a recent bride, a lot of brides nowadays are finding their vendors on social media. And
Yes.
it's so important now than ever to be present on social media and making sure that your Instagram is really reflecting what kind of weddings you do, what your dream client is, and really just like what kind of brides you want to serve.
It's funny, Reagan. I told you in our first chat, once I really got my head around what you're doing, I was like, you're sitting on gold. Like this content, because I was just in a series of calls, like thinking about like our own social media strategy for
Mhm.
Timeline Genius, the software company, right, that I run, and exactly the type of content, like our social media manager, she was like, that's the great content is because it really is the essence of what we're doing. These moments that you're capturing are what the
Mhm.
whole wedding industry is ultimately about. And you've got this. So you're telling me now, if I'm a planner and I work with your company, how does that
Mhm.
work? Do I just need to give you attribution online, just give you that shout out? Or how does it work when I use your content?
Yeah, so we just ask for credit, whether it's in the tagging or the caption. But I will say whenever we are hired by the bride and groom, we are purely focused on the bride and groom. And so we have separate packages for vendors if they just want to hire us specifically. I just did a wedding this past weekend where I went and was capturing content for about 4 or 5 hours just for the planner. And my goal and focus for the day uh, was to follow her around and just capture her holding the bride's dress, holding their vow books, helping guide people down the aisle, or making sure. But then also, so I was capturing behind the scenes of the planner and her team, but I was also
Gotcha.
capturing content of the decor, just like anything that they would want captured on their social media. So we have a call prior to the wedding and kind of just go through the timeline and say, okay, is there mainly during the day we're going to be following you around, but is there any other point during the day that you would want decor captured or videos of the bride and groom? um, so yeah, it's really just whenever we're specifically hired by the planner, we are at service to
Gotcha.
all the behind the scenes and whatever they would want on the day of, because it
I
really
th-
does show on their social media what it is like to have them as your planner. Whenever you can visually see videos of them on a wedding day helping a bride, you can see like, okay, they're going to be very present and they're going to be on top of it and they're going to understand what I'm looking for on the wedding day.
I gotcha. Okay, I thought there was like a situation where if a planner brought you in, to a wedding, like, propose the idea to the couple, hey, I think you should work with, get a content creator. Here's a good person. I thought they might also, in that case, get access to some of the content that you're creating for the couple. Is
Oh
that the
yeah,
case? Or, oh, that's okay. Go ahead.
yeah, we
Okay.
definitely would. We just whenever we're focused and hired by the bride and groom,
Hmm.
we maybe really don't have time in the
Gotcha.
timeline to
To
get
shoot
behind the
the,
scenes
yes,
of
of
the
course.
actual planner. But yeah, we're more than happy to send over the content
Okay.
to whatever vendors if we're hired by the bride and groom.
Well, that is really powerful. I mean, I want to ask this question, Reagan. Please tell me if this is a little too forward, but no, well, let's keep it general instead of just getting into your pricing because I don't know. Do you just do you share your pricing publicly on your site, or is that
Currently I don't, just because
okay?
we are serving in such different locations.
Markets.
Yeah,
So what's a
we
range for a content creator? Let me just ask it this way. Like if I'm a wedding planner and I'm
hmm.
thinking, let's say most of my weddings right now, like I don't have a content creator. I haven't worked with one. Maybe I'm newer and it's not as big of a thing in my market. How much should I be prepared to kind of allocate for this service? How should I be thinking about that?
Yeah, so I definitely think that since it is a newer industry, there are people still starting in the business and will charge
Mm-hmm.
lower for that barrier to entry to be able to do weddings. But I
Mm-hmm.
will say for your more established content creators, they would probably range. Normally, content creators will have packages from about 6 to 10 hours. That's at least the
Okay.
6 hour and 8 hour and a 10 hour package. And I would say normally the industry ranges around like 1,500 to 2,500.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for like all the raw content, all the edited videos, and then them to be there for 6 to 10 hours on the wedding day.
As a wedding planner, you know how important it is to create detailed wedding day timelines for your events. But creating your timelines can be a tedious and time-consuming job. Until now. Because Timeline Genius lets you create beautiful, detailed wedding day timelines with ease. And it keeps everything you need on the wedding day in one central place. Here's how it works. First, Timeline Genius saves all your clients, vendors, and venues in your Rolodex, so you don't lose time looking for their information. And when you're ready to create a new timeline, you simply enter the key information for your wedding. Click a button, and voila! Timeline Genius magically gives you a customized timeline for your event, where all the details are laid out and the times are calculated for you. From there, you can easily edit your timeline by adding or deleting items, inserting images, changing font styles, and customizing everything to your liking. You can also instantly shift the times for as many items as you want. And when it comes to your clients and vendors, Timeline Genius lets you give them the highest level of service. You can send them tailored timelines, showing only the items they're involved in. And you can collaborate by inviting them to a mobile-friendly, web-based version of the timeline. You can even set text message reminders to automatically go out on the wedding day. And once you've completed your perfect timeline, you can download it or email it out as a beautifully styled PDF. And that's Timeline Genius, a smart software that will help take your wedding planning to the next level. Start your free trial today.
And I'm going to ask a question. I already have my own answer, but I want to hear yours. If I'm a planner, say, and I have, a tech savvy 16-year-old nephew, why should I not just say, hey, why don't you, you've got an iPhone, don't you, nephew? Yes, I do. You know how to use it? Yes, I do. Well, show up on Saturday and shoot me. Like, what's the difference between that and the service that a company like yours would render?
Yeah, so something that I go over with my team very often is yes, you are hired and you are there on the wedding day because you have a skill at capturing content on an iPhone with good quality, good lighting, and making sure to capture those in between moments. But I think the most important part about our job is our professionalism on the wedding day, because with working with a media team, it is so imperative to have a good understanding of how to work with a photographer and videographer, and really understand how to communicate correctly with, okay, we are about to start the ceremony. Like, where are you going to stand? Where can I stand where I'm not in your way? Like, really understanding and having that um, thought process to talk through the media with the media team on the wedding day. I will say also, since we are just capturing on our iPhone, we don't have a lot of gear and things to kind of carry around on a wedding day. So there is a lot of times on a wedding day where the photographer is talking with the planner and trying to like figure out the timeline, videographers trying to switch out their cameras, and we are left with the bride. And it is so important for our energy to positive energy on a wedding day. And we really want to be not just someone that's capturing content, but also someone that's of help to the bride, to the planner, to the media team, just like anyone around us. So there really is a lot of times on the wedding day where we're left with the bride just to talk with them and just see how they're feeling and help them with anything. So it definitely is important to hire someone that is experienced in just being there on a wedding day, especially as a planner. You want to make sure whatever vendors that you're hiring are going to make a positive impact on your bride's mood on the wedding day. So yeah, that would be my answer to the 16-year-old nephew.
I in my mind, I mean, my own answer, and you gave it more detail and color, but was just like, do you really want to trust something so important to somebody that's not a professional, that's not like experienced, as you just said, like that knows how to do this, knows how to work with the other key players? I'm going to kind of turn this on its head a little bit, swap the tables here, because we talked about, and we'll come back to this a little bit more, but like what makes a content creator valuable and good and all these things. I want to know, now that you've done as many events as you've done, what makes a wedding planner great to work with? You've seen different planners working, right? Many different weddings in different locations. What makes, through your eyes, the great wedding planners stand out from the pack?
Like specifically as a content creator?
Yeah, or just, yeah, that, and just in general. Like, you've seen various planners operate. I think a lot of wedding planners really, maybe they've seen one or two other people, but really they just know how they do weddings, right? And, they get that feedback, but you have this vantage point of seeing a number of different planners in a number of different markets. What kind of stands out that's like, oh, wow, this person's a rock star. Like they have set themselves apart from the pack.
Yeah, that's a great question. I can give you kind of more of a general answer and then more of a specific answer. I'll say more on a general perspective. I, as a bride, had the best experience with my wedding planner, and I've gotten to experience her as a bride and as a fellow vendor. I've done content for her clients, I've done content for her, and she just all around is just such a great planner. And I say that in a way because she was someone that I trusted as a bride and as a vendor that I knew was going to have a very positive energy on the wedding day, but also was not going to let anything go, if that makes sense. Like I had full trust and capability that if something was wrong, either before the wedding day or on the wedding day, maybe not on the wedding day, but before the wedding day, if she felt like something wasn't too scheduled or planned to the best of its ability, she would make sure that was known. And she made that very clear in the beginning, like, I am here to serve you and to help you, and I want to make this wedding day as you as possible. And so she was really intentional in the beginning as a bride to make sure that that she understood like what I wanted my wedding day to feel like. And my biggest thing was I just want it to feel like it's in slow motion. And she stuck with that the whole wedding planning process. She made sure that every conversation that we had, like, does it align with what you're wanting your wedding day to feel like? Because it's really easy to kind of veer away from that. And then I will say,
who was your planner? Reagan, let's go ahead and give the public props if you don't
Yeah.
mind sharing.
Her company is called LNC Weddings. That's the Instagram handle, LNC Weddings. But
Okay.
I will say, as a vendor working with her, she's just very clear on communication with emailing all the vendors the timeline a few weeks out. And then before that, individually emailing us, making sure that she has the arrival time, the exit time, vendor meals, just like all the things that she would need to know about each vendor on a wedding day. She makes sure to get that. Um, and then I will say a more specific thing as a content creator that I love when that vendors or that planners do, is that before the wedding day on the timeline or just in the email, they will put a list of the vendors and their Instagram tags, because a lot of times on a wedding week or the week after a wedding day. Sorry, I said that kind of weird. The week after a wedding day, we're posting on social media, and we want to make sure to credit all the correct vendors. And so it is so nice because the planner really is the only person before the wedding day to know all the vendors on a wedding day. And so that's something that I love that planners do. They'll put it in the timeline or the email before, just making sure that like after the wedding day, if anyone posts anything, we're all crediting each other and tagging each other to just help share it as much as possible.
Okay, Reagan, thank you for sharing that, first of all. Secondly, you unwittingly pressed a button that you had no idea you were doing this, but now I have to talk about Timeline Genius for 60 seconds. So bear with me, because you said the word timeline, and
Mhm.
literally what you just talked about, Reagan, like I remember when we added the feature in Timeline Genius where we started saving social media handles so that we could automatically add them in the vendor contact section of the timeline. So I just want any of my wedding planners out there listening, if you don't know about Timeline Genius, where you been? Just kidding. Go to timelinegenius.com, watch the video on the homepage. It will blow your hair back. It's really amazing. We've been doing this for 12 and a half years. We've added so many features, even details, Reagan, like being able to click a button and to instantly generate a tailored version of the timeline for each vendor. So if you don't need your cake baker to see the full timeline, you can still give them the full timeline if you want. But as a professional courtesy, you can give them a tailored timeline that breaks out their items. It's amazing, timelinegenius.com. And as Forrest Gump said, that's all I have to say about that. So, but no, I'm not at all surprised, Reagan, about what you just said, like where you're saying organization is kind of like the through line here when it comes to being a wedding planner. You want to have things organized. Can you? I don't want to like just gloss over the fact that you also can still vividly remember being a bride, going through the hiring process, right? You're now in the industry, you're a vendor, you're a wedding industry professional yourself, but you can still vividly access what it was like to be a bride. Tell me a little bit more, because this is something we talk about on the podcast all the time. How do you get hired? Like, how do you close a deal? Tell me a little bit more from the vantage point of a wedding pro and bride. What made your planner stand out from all the other planners such that you hired her? I know you spoke to this a little, but I really want to kind of dig in so that planners can learn from it.
Yeah, I will say a big reason I personally hired my wedding planner was because she was my sister's wedding planner the year before.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, but that is a testament to the referral system and the referral process, because the way my sister heard about her was also from a referral. And so,
Right.
um, and that is, I know that's kind of how a lot of her business comes. And so that really was a testament when I started my business, was to, yes, focus on social media and making sure that we have a great portfolio and website and branding and all that stuff. But the biggest thing to focus on as a vendor, and I know this as a bride receiving emails and all the things from vendors, is how you treat your brides and just the relationship that you keep with them throughout the process and even after the process. And so, yeah, I would say that that all really showed me and taught me the importance of just the referral system.
And just making excellence your calling card, right? Like, obviously, had she not done a great job for your sister, you would not have hired her, right? Like
Yes.
calling
Yeah.
up the um as a business owner, and I think most people listening to us right now, Reagan, are a business owner. They may also be a planner, they may also be a photographer, but they're also running a business. Your business has enjoyed a lot of success, like quickly, like you've just kind of gotten right off the starting line in a burst, right? Part of that, correct me if I'm wrong, seems to be due to the fact that you're doing what great entrepreneurs do. You're riding a wave, right? Like this is a growing industry and you had the vision to kind of lean into this. What else is responsible for the success that your company has earned so far?
Yeah, I think something that really sets successful businesses apart is the ability to adapt. It's definitely was a big learning curve when starting my business because not only was I entering into the wedding industry without wedding experience, like I said, I worked in the oil and gas industry before. So not only was I entering into the industry um, as a new person in the industry, I was also entering in as a brand new vendor, and so I really had to learn the confidence to explain what I was doing and the value in what I was doing. Um, at the same time of really understanding, okay, I am new into the industry and I need to like take precautions in making sure that I understand fully what I'm getting into and really like what service I'm providing for brides before I just start blasting it out on social media. So I definitely did do a lot of weddings for free at first, just making sure to get like feedback from planners or brides, like, what did you like about this? Is there something different I could have done? And that was really helpful in starting my business because, like I said, it was my first time in the industry, but also was doing something that was brand new to the industry. And so I think that has been a good thing that I've tried to stay true to, even now as it starts to really it's becoming more solidified in the industry, is really just adapting to how things are changing and really seeing something that needs to be adapted and kind of self-reflecting. Okay, how do I want to either change my business to adapt to this or just really see success in this? So, because like I said, there really is it content creation is still adapting, and like you said, with technology, it's always adapting. So
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be as well. And I think the most successful entrepreneurs are going to be the people that continue to ride the wave, but also adapt to the changes and wants of clients.
That makes so much sense, Reagan, and I agree wholeheartedly. And there's so much technological change happening in our society right now, like obviously AI being at the forefront, but our world is changing at a pace that, me having been a tech entrepreneur now full time since 2005, I've never seen, the closest thing to it would be like the burgeoning of the internet in the 90s. Um, is it equal parts scary and exciting, more one than the other? Like, do you feel, just again, kind of inviting you to open up here, do you look at this and say, wow, this is great? I kind of like things the way they are because my company's growing, we're doing great. And yet, things are changing. Is that scary? Is it exciting? Like, how are you looking at that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's definitely times where it's like, okay, I'm thinking of my 5-year, 10-year plan, but you have no clue what
Mm-hmm.
your business is going to look like at that point,
Yeah.
in regards to the eyes of the consumer. And so it's something I'm always talking about with other content creators. Like, where do you think this is going to go in the next few years? And what I've really found is I think, is starting to become a divide of content creators. There's the brides that are wanting to hire a content creator for the more like budget reasons for to either
Mm-hmm.
videographer or are purely wanting to just add it as a third person onto their media team with a photographer and videographer, purely just to have those videos the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the future of content creation is really just identifying those brides, because I will say, like, we definitely tried to not market ourselves as a replacement for videography, because when we do have brides who hire us over videography, or they're not hiring a videographer and then they hear about content creation, they're like, oh, we're going to hire you so that we have videos. It definitely is an expectation that I have to set of, okay, we are different from videography. Like, we are capturing on our iPhone and we are capturing like behind the scenes. And so it's really just making sure I set that expectation, and set that precedence with the bride, before they hire us and before the wedding day.
That makes a lot of sense, Reagan. And, for what it's worth, it's really interesting that you're in this sort of area of our industry that is changing. It's exciting. And, I feel like, as much as I focus on mindset and abundance, trying to transcend the scarcity mindset, like, I'll be honest, I still have my days where I'm a little scared by technology and all the changes that are happening. I'm like, who knows what's around the next
Mhm.
corner? I feel like everybody in our industry and beyond right now, if you're paying attention, you probably have a little bit of, your mind that's like, okay, well, this is exciting, but also a little like, what's happening? Where are we going to be? I do feel like your industry, though, at least the role that you're serving and playing here, the way you're serving is is not something that's gonna go away. Like these trends that have brought your role into existence aren't showing any signs of stopping. Like, does that resonate with you, or do you kind of see that differently? Maybe.
No, I completely agree. And I think people definitely thought that at the start of wedding content creation. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, some people still do think that content creation is on a wedding day is specifically for you to post on social media, or like
Mm-hmm.
purely just for social media. Um, and I will say there are, and that makes sense, because every influencer or someone who has a following on Instagram nowadays that gets married, they do have a content creator, so that,
Mm-hmm.
because social media is their job, they have to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that their wedding
Mm-hmm.
is posted on social media immediately. Um, and so a lot of people in the beginning thought that that was the only purpose of a content creator. I even thought that as a bride at first, like, oh, I'm no influencer. I don't. My job is not in social media. I don't need a content creator. But when people, now that content creation is evolving, and like I said, as a bride, having that content the next day and really being able to look back and see videos of me with people or the decor, like, that's the value in content creation. Yes, you can post it on social media, you can do whatever you want with it, but the value is making sure that those memories and behind the scenes are captured on a wedding day. So I think with that kind of forefronting the growth of content creation, I really don't think it's gonna go anywhere.
I agree. And as you said something, Reagan, I think you're so right that that factor of being resilient and adaptable, like, because change is the one thing you can bank on, right? Like, industries are going to change. That said, your space is like, your niche is particularly susceptible to change right now, right? And what would you say to wedding planners who might be grappling in their own way with the change that's happening and the fearful thoughts that can arise, like, oh my gosh, now there's chat gbt, what if people are gonna just be going to chat gbt and asking for wedding advice? I'm making this up, right? We all have our own sort of fearful thoughts that kind of flood into our consciousness. What would you say to those planners to kind of help them do what you've been doing very successfully, which is adapting to all of this change?
Yeah, I think specifically for vendors or for wedding planners, something I've been seeing that has been of great use to planners with our content. So, like I said, this past weekend, we were not just capturing the bride and groom and the decor, but we were also capturing the behind the scenes of them fixing problems, of them being there for the bride. And those are all things that cannot be done by AI, they cannot be replaced. that is always going to need to be a real human being doing all those things, of problem solving on a wedding day. And oh, it's raining, we need to make sure that we are getting the guests over to the right area. Just things like that are never going to be replaced by AI. And so I think it's more important now than ever to showcase that on your social media, to really show brides, this is what we're doing on a wedding day. We are not just hired to create a pretty timeline. We are to be the real coordinator on a day, making sure that everything is being done at a timely manner and a correct manner. And when things arise, we are there to solve them. And so that's what I've seen has been a great use of our content on socials for planners.
That makes a lot of sense. I only have a couple more questions for you. It's amazing how time always flies in these interviews. It's like an hour seems long until you start doing it. We all, as business owners, have encountered challenges. Do you mind telling me, just off the top of your head, if you're like me, it'd be like, it's hard for me to figure out what the biggest one is because I've had so many. But if you had to pick a challenge that just is like the biggest challenge you've faced so far in building this business, what is that challenge and how did you overcome it?
I might need like 2 minutes.
No, it's all good. Take your time. I know these are hard. It's a hard question, but it's a good one. I'll tell you why I'm asking, Reagan, because one thing I've learned over the years doing this podcast, sometimes I'm talking to a planner, I might be talking to a mindset coach, but we've all hit challenges. And I find that usually there's a connecting thread that the challenge isn't just for your business. It's something that affects other people. I mean, are you not just getting like the bowling balls like tossed at you like every day from managing people and developing like, can I trust that this person's going to like maintain my level of excellence? What did I do for taxes? And is there anything that's kind of all that stuff,
I guess all of those things. But I will say, like, one of the biggest challenges with building a business in a category that still needs a lot of education, industry, it's really been a lot of making decisions based off of what I think is going to be best for the business and how I grow the business. Because with a lot of other vendors in the industry, you can not copy, but kind of look at another successful business.
Yeah, there's like a blueprint. Yeah.
There's a blueprint for it. Yeah. But for wedding content creation, there's not really a blueprint. I started the company on my own, capturing weddings just on my own. And then I really saw the need for a lot of, especially in our area. So I currently live in Houston, and that's where I got married. And the reason I started my business at first was because there wasn't a wedding content creator in Houston. I had to hire one out all across Texas. And so I started my business just capturing weddings on my own, and then really saw the need for a team and more associates to capture the wedding for Unveiled. And while I still have creative direction over the editing and like the final delivery, it really was a big hump last year to get over, of really kind of weeding through like what kind of people do I want to enter into my team, because I kind of started this business with the idea that it was just going to be me, but now I'm changing and having to adapt to hiring people and having a team with me. And so my biggest goal for 2026 has been to refine my internal processes and really refine my associates, because I do not hire someone from my team on a wedding day unless I fully am confident that they're going to capture it the same way that I would. So that, I think, has been the biggest challenge, is really just changing my business structure of, okay, I think it's just going to be me. And then, oh, wait, I think it would be great to have a team. And it's been amazing to have a team, because we have been able to serve like so many more couples. And it has just allowed me to focus more working on my business than in it, which has been like the biggest blessing. So I don't know if that was a great answer.
No, it's a great answer. I think you're speaking to something that you're kind of proving the point or hypothesis that I threw out, which is that oftentimes the challenges that one business owner faces, it transcends your occupation. I can tell you, wedding planners, for example, Reagan, talk a lot about like the challenges of building a team, because it's for the reason that we said earlier, right? Excellence is your calling card. If you're not delivering an excellent service, nobody's going to hire you. Well, how do you trust that when you bring on that next content creator, that that person is really going to carry on and execute at that level? They may not get the exact same videos that you would get, but that they're going to maintain this bar that you've set for excellence. And I guess that begs the question, like, how do you make sure that the people you're bringing on are not letting that excellence bar kind of slip down?
Yeah, so before I allow them to take on their own paid wedding, I have them shadow me on a real wedding day to make sure that they can see exactly how I'm handling our role, with a photographer, with a videographer, with a planner, with the bride. And I really just like talk through on the day, like, okay, this is how I'm aware of this being captured, this being captured. And then I also send them on styled shoots just to make sure with them, making sure that they're capturing with videos and photos with good quality. Them on styled shoots to just focus on that. And then I'll also send them on weddings just to capture for free to make sure that they get a good understanding of what they're doing without the pressure of it being a paid client. And so from there, if I feel like they're ready, then I'll start booking them on weddings. And even now I've had team members with me for over a year and a half now, and I still will send them voice memos, or we'll have like meetings just to go over like little things that they can tweak or better next time, from weddings that they've captured. So I always see it as like, once someone joins the team, it's not like, okay, check mark, they're good, I don't need to look at or see anything that they do at this point. Like, I still have a responsibility to make sure that they're like always growing in what they're doing. Because I think back to when I first started, the content I shoot now versus then is completely different, because I've been through so many wedding days that I can anticipate different things that are going to happen. So yeah, it's definitely just always having those checkups with the team members and making sure that they're always growing in what they're capturing and just how they're handling a wedding day.
I love it. Reagan, there's a lot more that I could talk to you about. I'm going to be disciplined here, and I'm going to ask you a question that I ask of all of my guests. This is a tough one. I actually did an episode on the podcast recently where I was the interviewee, and our content director, she was the interviewer, and she asked me this question. I was like, wait, that's hard. So it's okay if this is like a tough question. If you could pull one piece of advice, Reagan, from all of your personal and professional experience, your whole life, and it would be like the advice that would help anybody that's listening right now as much as possible in pursuing their professional dreams, what piece of advice would you share with people?
I mean, I will say, starting my business, if I was like looking at myself now 2 years ago, I would be like, what? What are you talking about? And that I credit a lot to the community of people that I've put me around, especially my husband. He's very entrepreneurial. And so one of the big reasons I started my company was because he was like, I was like, oh, I'll go work for a wedding content creation company, like someone who's based out of another state. Maybe they need an associate in Houston. Really pushed me to, why don't you just start your own company? Like, it's obviously a need in our area. Just start it on your own. And I really don't think I would have if I hadn't been surrounded by a community of people that really pushed me in that. And so, I'm continuing to try to find other entrepreneurs that are either in the same space in my area, or just continually calling people just to really talk through, like, how can we better our business? How can we better what we're doing? And so I would say that's my biggest advice to really any vendor or just anyone who's not even a business owner, is you really don't know your potential as much as sometimes the people around you. Sometimes it really does take that little nudge and push to really really achieve what the Lord has for you. I mean, that's something that I was not sure about in the beginning, and now I look back and I'm like, wow, this is so this just makes so much sense now. Whereas 2 years ago, I was like, that makes no sense. I don't know what that looks like. That sounds scary. Like, I don't want to do that. And now it's like one of the greatest of the things that I've decided to do. And now I get to work in an industry where everyone loves their job. I always say that's like the best thing about the wedding industry is like, you're never going to come across someone that doesn't love what they're doing, because they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't love it. So yeah, that's been my biggest thing, is really just surrounding myself by people that are going to push me to be the best version of myself.
That is beautiful, Reagan. Yeah, I literally just got chills. I feel like life is it's just so beautiful sometimes. And again, to quote my man Forrest Gump, he says it's like a box of chocolates. Like, you don't know what you're getting, like, and that's part of the beauty of it. But when you see these things come to fruition, and these visions that you didn't even necessarily consciously have, yeah, that is really beautiful. If anybody wants to reach out to you, Reagan, for hiring you or just getting to know you better, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, so you can reach us on Instagram at Unveiled Content Co. We have our website, unveiledcontentco.com. And then you can always email me at Reagan@unveiledcontentco.com. So yeah, we're on Instagram, TikTok, like I said, website, email, any of those ways you can contact us.
Well, on behalf of our Timeline Genius community and all of our Wedding Industry Insider listeners, I just want to say thank you for taking time again to, do this. And yeah, good luck to you. Thanks for doing what you're doing in the industry.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie, for having me. This is a great conversation.
Absolutely.